They're criminalizing asylum. That's what's happened, right?
Yes.
Trump has criminalized.
Oh, no.
Yes, actually. Trump has criminalized the legal process of asylum.
$1,000. Deport yourself, come back in the right way. Look, my husband had to do it. My husband had to wait. We waited 9 years for his green card to become, and he just got naturalized last November, right? So why do we have to wait in line? Why do these guys just bum rush in and get all our benefits and take from our blue cities? They came in here illegally in the first place, right?
It's not
why didn't they
They
apply?
came through asylum process.
But that's the thing.
That's
That's the
not
thing.
The right way. We're going to give you a ticket. We're going to give you $1,000. Do it the right way. Wait in line.
Is modification.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this segment. When it comes to Republicans, there's just always going to be a segment of that population that no matter what benefits immigration brings to the country, they are against it. They are against a certain type of immigration. Let's check this out and we'll talk about it.
Tonight, escalating deportation threats after an off-duty Border Patrol agent officer was shot in New York City by an alleged undocumented immigrant with a lengthy criminal record. Donald Trump's border czar says the so-called sanctuary cities can expect to see more agents in their streets.
Cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And I'm going to work very hard for Secretary Noem to keep President Trump's promise and his commitment several weeks ago that sanctuary cities are now our priority. We're going to flood the zone.
While Americans largely back enforcing immigration laws for criminals living in the U.S. illegally, new numbers from CNN show they largely oppose targeting those who've lived here for years without any convictions. Joining us at the table is Adam Mockler, Midas Touch's Gen Z creator. This is the moment, the type of dichotomy that I think is playing out here. On the one hand, it's completely uncontroversial for these suspects, because there were two of them, to be apprehended, deported if they were here in the country illegally. But on the other hand, Americans are also saying we want this to be more targeted. But the Trump administration is definitely going to use this incident to pursue what they're doing right now, which is mass deportations.
Yeah, first of all, the shooting is absolutely horrific, and every American should be okay with deporting people who are criminals and who are dangerous and here illegally. But that is not what the Trump administration is prioritizing. They have reallocated funds meant for the deportation of criminals to the deportation of farm workers. Farmers have been complaining about this directly to Donald Trump, to people who are showing up to immigration hearings. They show up to their hearing and they get directly targeted. ICE is camping there. Or what about the 82-year-old who his family was told he was dead and he was found in Argentina? Trump's popularity on immigration has dropped 10 points over the past few months, and 70% of Americans want him to focus more on lowering prices, but he's deporting farm workers, enacting more tariffs. It's not popular.
Kevin, is there more targeting that could happen here that is actually responsive to what Americans say that they want?
I agree with this narrative between those that have committed crimes, documented crimes multiple times, versus a farm worker who's been here for 20 years illegally, but is maintained his ability to work and provide productivity to the economy. This is a very delicate situation. And I think it's threading the needle for Trump because he said the same thing. Look, if you worked on a farm and you've been, haven't been charged with anything and you're providing productivity to the economy, maybe we should work something out there. And this is where I think the challenge is. You talked about his polls dropping on this. I kind of agree with this. If you're a criminal and you've been charged, you're out of here. I think everybody agrees with that. But if you've actually come into the country and been here a long time, had children here that are American citizens, and you provided productivity to the economy, and you're supporting farming, which is one of the categories or sectors where there's a lot of these people, I kind of get it.
And just to be clear, I mean,
Finally, a decent take from this fool, Kevin. And again, it's not to say let everyone in the country. That's obviously not sustainable. But does Kevin know? And that's just the problem is there's a huge base in Trump's party. Maybe, I don't know how huge it is now. But like Laura Looney Bin that wants 65 million Hispanics fed to alligators if they don't get deported. There's a lot in his party, Republican Party, that want all Hispanics of this country out, legal or not. That those same people would love to get rid of black people in this country if they could. I've said that 1,000 times before. But I'm not sure why we just can't create. We've had this before. Create a system of work programs that is a path to citizenship, and it's such a simple economic concept. We need more people to grow the economy. You don't do it with less people. For instance, very simply, you need more people to buy products, use services, right? Simply so that the companies can grow bigger and hire even more people, and in theory, pay people more since they're making more profits. Although that last item, most companies don't want to pay more for obvious reasons. But thus, these things grow the economy, not including the taxes paid, Social Security paid into it every year. Like, how do people think China has become such a threat? And again, it's not to say that let everyone in, but to have such a negative view, such a stark, strong stance against it, it's just uneducated nonsense. You can be more pragmatic and strategic in your approach, right? The truth is that there's more than 7 million open jobs in this country, as we speak. Granted, some of them are not paying enough. I guess a lot of them, I would say, but some is just jobs that Americans would rather not do because of an alternative job that they can do as an English-speaking American that's simply less arduous and that may pay a little bit more, right? Like it's not that hard to understand.
I think that it's farm workers, but people who work in restaurants,
Yes.
household, domestic employees, they're also they're inputting productivity into this economy, and they're actually maybe a larger chunk of the
American
undocumented.
compassion here. That's what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and I think we all agree with that.
I have to jump in because there's some context that I think people need to know about that doesn't get discussed enough, which is, look, the Democratic Party obviously is the opposition to Trump, so they want to go against everything he wants to do. One of the issues right now is if ICE calls for a detainer of a convicted felon, someone who has been convicted of a crime, they're serving their time, ICE just wants, like, municipalities, local police to detain that person, hold them, so ICE can come, get them, and then deport them.
Yeah.
But sanctuary
You cool with
cities...
that? You okay with that?
I am definitely okay with that.
Great.
If they've been convicted of a crime, yes, you should hold on to that individual so ICE can detain them and then deport them. But sanctuary cities, not all. It depends on which municipality you're talking about. But in Los Angeles, for instance, local authorities are not allowed, based on the sanctuary laws, to cooperate with federal agents, including ICE. So they don't abide by the, I think it's called a detainer, right? When ICE calls for a detainer, local authorities just release the person after they've served their time.
So this is really, it's really important.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought this up, because we talk about sanctuary cities a lot, but there are some nuances here, and there is a difference between saying to local authorities, if someone shows up and reports a crime and they happen to be undocumented, you hand them over, and what Anna's talking about, which is actually, I think a lot of people would think is common sense. I mean, our Democrats, in this case, at least one of these individuals had exactly what she's talking about, a detainer.
Right.
Are Democrats missing the ball here in terms of these sanctuary laws being so broad that they prevent law enforcement from getting violent people off the streets?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you can do is be smart about it, right? If you create a system that identifies someone like this, 100% should not have been here, right? And they should have been totally given up and deported, right? But the problem overall that's happening is that I think sometimes they're doing this in resistance to the broader efforts, because the context it's happening within. We've been talking about here with ICE just going wholesale, detaining. I think the most recent ICE numbers I saw in June showed a majority of those who are detained currently do not have criminal records. You have that situation going on. And then there's just the broader context. I think Democrats should make that narrow carve out for criminals, but also I think they need to tell the positive story of immigration generally. There's just all these stats. Every time I mention that that undocumented immigrants pay up to $100 billion in annual taxes, every single time I talk about it, someone around me says, "Oh, I didn't know."
Well,
that." Right?
Andrew, I want to let you get in, but I want to play what Christine Ohm said when reporters asked her specifically about when they go to the courthouses and they pick people up. Are you not undermining what you say is an effort to make the streets safer by getting actual criminals off the street?
We've seen outside immigration court here in New York City, people still with pending green card claims, pending asylum claims are grabbed right outside of court. Are you not undercutting your own argument when you arrest those other?
Absolutely not. What we're doing is we're targeting those individuals that are perpetuators of crimes in this country, those who have final removal orders, those who have undergone due process and are needing to be removed from this country. We will do that.
I mean, those two things cannot be true at the same time.
Well, you have to understand, Kristi Noem is giving a pathway for the illegals to become citizens. They're saying, here's $1,000, deport yourself, come back in the right way. Look, my husband had to do it. My husband had to wait. We waited 9 years for his green card to become, and he just got naturalized last November, right? So why do we have to wait in line? Why do these guys just bum rush in and get all our benefits and take from our blue cities? My big problem with Los Angeles.
I don't care about your big problem. I made a video on this idiot a couple weeks ago, and I just think she wants fewer brown people. She made what I thought was a fake story up. At least that's what it looked like to me.
Because of the Jewish base here, they're scared, and I'm hearing from, you know, various people here in New York, and they're concerned about their safety, living here with a Muslim mayor, and that's the problem.
Highly probable.
Hold on.
They shouldn't.
Because of
Hold on. We talked about this.
Outside of those really MAGA far-right Republicans that just want all black and brown people out of this country, there is this cohort, I would say, of legal immigrants, as they like to use that term, that stick up their nose at other immigrants because they don't want to be lumped in as to what they perceive as less than. It's that close the door behind me mentality, but also one that's partly built on racism as well. As an Asian or an European immigrant, we are not like those brown, Hispanic, poor people bum rushing the borders like she just said. These immigrants bum rushing the borders, sucking up, what did she say, blue cities resources? Like, she gives an F about blue cities as a Republican. Like, what do you think is going on here? That these people that are bum rushing the border, as you say, are just evil, entitled, they just think they deserve to skip the line because what, they think they're better than everyone else? Or is it possible, with the hand countable amount of brain cells that you have, is it possible that there really just isn't a way otherwise for them? And I'm gonna get to that in a bit. And by the way, if you're coming in illegally, in theory, you aren't skipping the line. There is no line.
Is that you have local mayors there giving the heads up to communities saying, hey, there's an ICE raid coming. You better leave and let's get the rioters in.
I have
That's
a bigger
not
problem
what
with
an elected
they're
official
doing
should do.
in not detaining or abiding by the detainer when someone's been convicted of a crime. I think they should at least cooperate with that and have that carve out, as you mentioned earlier. I think that carve out makes a lot more sense.
I want to respond to Angie saying this gives a path. What this does is disincentivize people from going to the courthouse and following the proper procedures. And part of the reason they're being so aggressive is because of this arbitrary quota set by Stephen Miller, 3,000 a day, meaning people who are going to courthouses, being detained, being deported. Again, workers, people who are contributing to this country. So do you think it's okay when somebody who is following the proper processes is then kind of like hoodwinked?
Not if they came in here illegally in the first place, right?
It's not
Why
illegal
didn't they
if
apply?
They came through asylum process.
But that's the thing.
That's
That's
not
the
illegal.
thing.
Well,
They're
that's
criminalizing asylum. That's what's happened, right?
Yes.
Trump has criminalized.
Oh, no.
Yes, actually. Trump has criminalized the legal process of asylum.
Oh, dear Lord, she's so embarrassing. Hand countable.
Basically, if you come here and you're abiding, right? You're showing up to court because you're following the rules.
There are also hundreds of thousands of people who had temporary protective status
That
that were overnight had their status revoked. And I mean, that created people who the Trump administration now says are illegal, but they came here through a legal process as well.
So they're doing the reverse of what Angie was saying by giving a path. They're actually removing the path for people that are already here.
I think she's saying something very, very clear. If you self-deport and come back in, file the right way, we're going to give you a ticket, we're going to give you $1,000, do it the right way.
What
Wait
we
in
need
line.
is modification to the curation process between who is a defined criminal, charged, they're out, we've all agreed on that,
Yep.
versus ones that are productive to the American economy. That curation does not exist yet. Modification to the policy makes sense. And that may be a bipartisan idea.
Well,
who knows?
I mean, it would only be if Trump wanted it to be, but right now, clearly, he does not. We have to leave this one.
Let me give you my final thoughts here. I don't know if anyone on that panel grew up in poverty, but this is the thing. If you've never grown up in extremely poor conditions, it's difficult to have an understanding of what's really going on. Angie Wong, the one with the red blouse, she says it's like it's nothing. Oh, come the legal way and wait your turn. Like, you have to have a more sensible look at this. And I mentioned this before. I grew up poor as hell in the Bronx. Family of 5 with just my mom. $1,000, you know what $1,000? So first off, it costs about $1,000 just to apply, let alone to get a lawyer, which is needed for most people who don't speak English coming from the border, from south of the border, to navigate the complexity of the process. This system that we have is only built for immigrants who have money, or at least some of it, can send their kids over here. You have to have some to go to school here. You have to have some form of money. It's not built for really poor people. That's why they come illegally. Like, it's not that hard to understand. Which, and in my view, is precisely the point we have the system the way it is to try to keep black and brown people, immigrants, from coming into this country. I mean, why else? There is no real system outside of seeking asylum. And like, again, and the point that I was making, I grew up really poor in the Bronx. I couldn't imagine my mom coming up with that amount of money growing up. And that's in the Bronx. Could you imagine you living in El Salvador? Like, these people are coming from some of the most dangerous and poorest places in the world. Do you know how hard it is to come up with that kind of money? When the entire reason actually you're leaving is because you're in either imminent danger of either your life, or because there's simply no job opportunities to survive, to put food on the table for your family. You don't have the money nor the time to wait your turn, as she says. They are at risk, you soulless ghoul. And by the way, for the people that talk about American jobs, because I've heard immigrants say this too, legal immigrants, Americans too, that they'll take your job. These people coming over the border are taking jobs. Come on. Someone who has some level of wealth from Europe or Asia, you don't think they're more likely to compete with American jobs or jobs that Americans would want? Or do you think a poor ass family or person who doesn't even speak the language, coming from a poor Hispanic country south of the border, you really think that person is taking your job? Or one that you would even want to do? I would say in most cases, hell no. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, really helps get the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.